needs to state his position and provide clarity. I know back a few, let me not give a timeline, but in the past he has said that he wants a referendum to establish whether Jamaica should have the CCJ as its final apex court versus the Privy Council. What is the opposition's position on a referendum?
Our position on a referendum, and this is a long-standing position, is that the choice of the final court is really not suitable to be put to a referendum process. Not one country that was in the British Empire, as it then was, and moved away from the Privy Council to establishing another final court has done so by a process that involved a referendum. None. And those that have a constitution that requires a referendum and that have tried it have found that the entire process has become fraught with politics. The issues have become very messy and politicized, and it has been an unsatisfactory process that has not led to the result that was intended. In our constitution from 1962, the Privy Council is not an entrenched provision. And it was always contemplated that Jamaica would evolve away from the Privy Council. That is why it's not an entrenched provision. The Privy Council has said, based on their interpretation of the Constitution, that whatever replaces the Privy Council must be entrenched. And it must be entrenched in the same way as the Supreme Court in Jamaica and the Court of Appeal. That does not require a referendum, because the entrenchment of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal in Jamaica is achieved by requiring 2/3 majority vote in both houses to change it. And that is a process that should be followed to establish the CCJ. In our view, this should be one unitary exercise. The legislation should contemplate the CCJ's adoption by the necessary majorities in both houses of Parliament, and the issue of the Constitution as a whole, including removal of the monarchy, the establishment of a Jamaican president, and so on, would go on for approval by referendum. That is what we would like to see. The Prime Minister has indicated to me that he would be considering this matter. We haven't heard from him. The Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs last October said he would be speaking to the matter. He hasn't done so. I don't know why he's reluctant to state his position, but we need to know where we're going with this, because, as has been said, this is a matter which for us is fundamental.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thank you very much for that question, and I would like to raise an issue as a member of the CRC. You see how the work is phased, and what phase one is supposed to do is that it's supposed to not only, as they say, deal with matters on which there's a consensus, but also deal with matters which under Section 49 of the Constitution require a referendum. If the Prime Minister has said that he wants to do a referendum, something which is not legally required, then why not now? Why not now when we are considering matters which have to go to referendum? I question the reason why this matter would be put for phase two if he sincerely feels that it should be a matter which must go to the people and on which they should decide.
And I would just add that the phasing of how they've approached this reform is entirely their decision. We were not consulted on that. The terms of reference were not a document that we had any say in. The phasing is not something that we would have approved of, because for us it's illogical, and it leads to anomalous results like where we are now. Because it should have been understood from day one, because it was fully known to them that this issue of the final court and full decolonization had to be addressed up front, and it hasn't been.